a respected judge, a famous pastor, a rising politician. One family, and a secret they buried for 20 years, until the ground exposed all of them.
The earth remembers everything. This is what the old people say, and on that hot Tuesday morning in Lagos, when the excavator's claw bit deep into the red soil behind the old Benson compound, the earth decided it was time to speak. The construction workers saw it first. A flash of white among the rust-colored dirt. Then more white. Then the unmistakable curve of what could only be human bone. As our people say, the sky does not hang so low that a fowl can touch it with its beak. But that day, the sky pressed down heavy on everyone who stood around that pit, staring at what 26 years of silence had hidden. The foreman, a thin man called Bayo, wiped sweat from his face though the sun had barely risen. He knew what this meant. He knew what happens when the past refuses to stay buried. He made the call to the police, and then he sat on a pile of cement blocks and waited, his hands shaking like leaves in harmattan wind. The police came quickly. Detective Amina arrived with her team, her shoes already dusty from the red earth that seemed to claim everything in this part of the city. She was a woman who had seen too many bodies in her 15 years on the force, but something about this one made her skin prickle with knowing. The skeleton lay curled on its side, as if sleeping, as if waiting. Scraps of fabric clung to the bones. What had once been a dress, blue like the afternoon sky. A necklace, tarnished but intact, rested against the vertebrae. And there, half buried in the dirt beside the skull, a student identification card sealed in plastic. Amina crouched down, her knees protesting, and lifted the card with gloved hands. The face that stared back at her was young, bright-eyed, full of tomorrow. Leah John, University of Lagos. 2004. The name stirred something in Amina's memory. She had been a junior officer back then, fresh and idealistic. She remembered the missing persons case. She remembered the girl's mother, a woman whose grief had carved deep valleys in her face, begging anyone who would listen to find her daughter. 20 years. The case had gone cold like yesterday's EBA. But here was Leah, found at last, on a piece of land that belonged to one of the most powerful families in Lagos. The Benson family. As the people say, when the mouse laughs at the cat, there is a hole nearby. And the Benson family had many holes, many secrets, though none suspected what lay buried beneath their ancestral compound. Judge Kola Benson was a man whose name commanded respect in every courtroom in the state. At 73, his back was still straight as an Iroko tree, his judgment still sharp as a fresh razor. People whispered that he could see through lies the way sunlight passes through clear water. They said his integrity was solid as granite. His eldest son, Pastor Dare Benson, led one of the largest churches in Victoria Island. Every Sunday, 15,000 people filled his cathedral to hear him preach about righteousness and redemption. His face smiled from billboards across the city. His books lined the shelves of every Christian bookstore. They called him a man of God. His daughter, Zara Benson, was everywhere, on movie screens, in magazines, in the dreams of young girls who wanted to be like her. At 42, she was still Nollywood's golden child, still beautiful enough to make men forget their own names. She had married and divorced 3 times, each marriage more spectacular than the last. The youngest son, Yatta Benson, had just been elected to the House of Representatives. At 38, he was already being whispered about as a future governor, maybe even president. His campaign had promised change, transparency, a new Nigeria. The people had believed him because he had his father's eyes, clear, honest, unflinching. This was the family who owned the land where Leah John had been buried like discarded refuse. When the news reached them, each one received it differently. Judge Kola was in his study when his housekeeper brought him the phone. He listened to the police commissioner's voice, his face revealing nothing, as calm as a still pond. When he hung up, he sat for a long moment, his hands folded on the mahogany desk that had belonged to his own father. Then he made a call. He called all his children for a family meeting. Pastor Dare arrived in his white SUV, his assistant trailing behind him with a Bible and a bottle of anointing oil. His face was troubled, his hands clasped as if in prayer. He had a sermon to preach on Sunday about walking in the light, and now this darkness had come to his family's doorstep. Zara came from a movie shoot, still wearing makeup that made her look 10 years younger, her perfume filling the room like a sweet lie. She perched on the edge of her mother's favorite chair, her phone buzzing with messages from her publicist about damage control. Yatu arrived last, his tie loosened, his face tight with the kind of tension that comes from knowing your political career can end with one wrong headline. He had a town hall meeting in 3 days. He had reporters waiting for his statement. Within an hour, the whole family had gathered in the old family house where the body had been found. The house where they had all grown up, where their mother had died 15 years ago, where their father still kept his most important papers in a safe behind a portrait of their grandfather. They sat in the parlor that smelled of furniture polish and old memories, and each one wore their own mask of concern. Judge Kohler looked at his 3 children, the preacher, the actress, the politician, and he spoke with the weight of a man who had spent 40 years deciding the fates of others. "The police will come," he told them. "They will ask questions. They will dig into our lives. We must be united. We must be honest. We have nothing to hide." His children nodded, their faces solemn. But in their eyes, if you looked closely, you could see it, the thing that crawls in the dark corners of guilty hearts. Fear. As our people say, the lizard that jumped from the Iroko tree said he would praise himself if no one else did. But none of the Bensons felt like praising anything that evening. They felt like rats caught in a trap that had waited 20 years to spring. Detective Amina began her work the way she always did, with the bones. The forensic team confirmed what the ID card had already told her. Female, approximately 26 years old at time of death. The skull showed evidence of blunt force trauma. This was not an accident. This was not natural causes. Someone had struck Leah John hard enough to crack her skull, and then buried her in a shallow grave behind the Benson house. Amina pulled the old case file. The investigation in 2004 had been half-hearted at best, corrupted at worst. Leah had been reported missing by her roommate 3 days after she was last seen. The police had asked a few questions, filed a few reports, and then the case had simply stopped. Amina found a note in the file, barely legible, family not cooperating. Case suspended pending new evidence. She recognized the handwriting. It belonged to a detective who had died 5 years ago, a man known to take money from powerful people to make problems disappear. Amina started with the basics. She interviewed the construction workers, the neighbors, anyone who had been around the Benson compound in 2004. And slowly, like water seeping through cracks in a wall, the stories began to emerge. An old woman who sold oranges on the corner remembered seeing a young girl going into the Benson compound late one evening in 2004. She couldn't recall the exact date, but she remembered because the girl had been crying. She remembered because she had thought that one carries trouble on her head like a basket of stones. A former security guard, now retired, remembered being told to take a week off in May 2004. Unusual, he said, because the family rarely gave him time off. When he returned, there had been fresh cement poured in the back courtyard, and when he asked about it, Judge Kohler told him they were doing some repairs. A university classmate of Leah's came forward when she saw the news. She told Amina that Leah had been seeing someone in secret, someone she wouldn't name. Someone she was afraid of. Someone who had promised her things but delivered only pain. "The last time I saw her," the classmate said, her eyes wet with old grief, "she told me she was going to end it. She said she was going to tell his family everything, even if it destroyed her." "Who was he?" Amina asked. The classmate shook her head. "Leah never said. But she showed me a bracelet he had given her. Gold, with an inscription. It said, 'To my light from your shadow.'" Amina felt her pulse quicken. She called the forensic team. They searched through the remains again, sifting through every particle of dirt. And there, small and tarnished but still intact, they found it. A gold bracelet. The inscription was still readable, "To my light from your shadow." The family was called in for questioning. Judge Kohler arrived with 3 lawyers. Pastor Dare came with his entire church's legal team. Zara brought her agent and her publicist. Yatta came alone, which was either very brave or very stupid. Amina interviewed them separately in the small, hot room at the police station where lies came to die. Judge Kohler sat with his back straight, his face carved from stone. Yes, he knew Leah John. She had been his daughter's friend. She had visited the house a few times in 2004. No, he did not know what happened to her. No, he had not been involved in her disappearance. He was a man of law. He was above reproach. When Amina showed him the bracelet, his face did not change. He did not recognize it. Pastor Dare prayed before answering any questions, his voice smooth as palm oil. Yes, he remembered Leah. A troubled girl, he said. She had come to him for counseling once or twice. Issues with her family. Issues with faith. No, he did not know about any romantic relationship. No, he certainly had not given her that bracelet. When pressed about where he was in May 2004, he consulted his old journals. He had been on a mission trip to Ghana. He had witnesses. He had proof. Zara cried beautifully, her tears perfect as a movie scene. Leah had been her friend, she said. They had met at a party. They had bonded over their love of fashion. But then Leah had become strange, secretive. She had stopped calling. Zara assumed she had found a boyfriend and gotten busy with her own life. The bracelet? She had never seen it before. She wished she had been a better friend. She wished she had asked more questions. Yatu was nervous, his hands fidgeting with his phone. He had been only 18 in 2004, he said. A university student himself. Yes, he had met Leah a few times when she visited their house. Pretty girl. Quiet. But he barely knew her. Where was he in May 2004? He frowned, thinking. He had been preparing for exams. Studying. He couldn't remember specific dates. That was 20 years ago. Amina watched them all, and she saw what she always saw in guilty people. They were too perfect. Their stories too rehearsed. Their grief too measured. As the elders say, no matter how long a log stays in the water, it will never become a crocodile. And these people, no matter how much they lied, would never become innocent. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A woman named Funmi, who had worked as a housemaid for the Benson family in 2004, saw the news and came forward. She was older now, tired, working as a cleaner in an office building. But her memory was sharp. She told Amina about the night in May 2004 when she heard shouting from the back of the compound. A man's voice and a woman's voice. She had been too frightened to go look. Later that night, she saw someone digging in the back garden, but it was dark and she couldn't see who. The next morning, she was called into Judge Kohler's study. He gave her an envelope of money, more money than she would earn in 2 years, and told her she was being let go. Her services were no longer needed. And if she cared about her family's safety, she would never speak about anything she saw or heard in that house. She had taken the money and disappeared. For 20 years, she had kept silent, the guilt eating at her like termites in old wood. But now, she said, with Leah's mother still alive and grieving, she could not keep quiet anymore. Some secrets were too heavy for one person to carry. Who did you see digging? Amina asked. Funmi closed her eyes. I couldn't see the face clearly, she said. But I saw the clothes. A black suit. Expensive shoes. And I heard him talking to himself, the way people do when they're frightened. He kept saying, Father will know what to do. Father will fix this. The investigation tightened. DNA testing on the bracelet revealed 2 skin cells. Male and female DNA. The lab worked overtime, and when the results came back, Amina felt the satisfaction of a puzzle piece clicking into place. The female DNA matched Leah's DNA, while the male DNA matched a sample in the system. A sample taken from a minor traffic accident 3 years ago. Yatu Benson. When they brought him in for the second interview, he came without lawyers. He came with the look of a man who had been running for 20 years and was finally too tired to keep going. Amina placed the DNA results on the table between them. Yatu stared at the paper. His hands trembled. His perfect political face crumbled like old clay. I was 18, he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. He told her the story that had festered inside him for 2 decades. He had met Leah at a party. She was beautiful, smart, different from the girls he knew. They started seeing each other in secret because his father had strict rules about relationships, about maintaining the family image. Leah got pregnant. She wanted to keep the baby. She wanted him to tell his family, to marry her. But he was 18, terrified, selfish. He asked her to get rid of it. She refused. They argued. She threatened to go to his father, to expose him, to ruin his future. He had a scholarship to study abroad. He had plans. She was going to destroy everything. That night in May, they met at the family compound. His father was away at a conference. His siblings were out. They argued in the back garden. She screamed at him, called him a coward, said she would tell everyone. He pushed her, just to make her stop. But she fell, and her head struck the edge of the concrete flower bed. The sound of her skull cracking was something he still heard in his nightmares. She died instantly. He panicked. He checked for pulse and found out that she had died, so he thought of a solution. He dug a shallow grave and buried her. He covered the grave with fresh soil and potted plants. And then he called his father. Judge Kohler had come home immediately. He looked at the grave, looked at his youngest son, and made a decision. He called his eldest son, Pastor Dare. Together, they poured cement over the grave. Together, they threatened the housemaid into silence. Together, they paid off the investigating officer to make the case disappear. They told Yatu to go to London as planned. To study. To forget. To live with what he had done because they couldn't bring Leah back, and they wouldn't destroy their own family for a dead girl nobody would miss. Zara never knew. She was innocent, truly innocent, protected by her own self-absorption. But the three men, the judge, the pastor, the politician, they knew. They covered it up. They built their successful lives on top of Leah John's bones. When the arrests were made, the city erupted. The judge who had sentenced so many. The pastor who had preached so many sermons about truth. The politician who had promised change. All of them in handcuffs, paraded before cameras that would broadcast their shame to every corner of the nation. Leah's mother, now 71 years old and bent with grief, stood outside the police station and wept. Not tears of relief, but tears of rage. 20 years she had spent wondering. 20 years they had stolen from her. The newspapers called it the biggest scandal in decades. Social media burned with fury. The church lost thousands of members overnight. The judge's legacy turned to ash. Yatu's political career ended before it truly began. As our people say, every day is for the thief, but one day is for the owner of the house. The trial lasted 6 months. The evidence was overwhelming. Yatu pleaded guilty to manslaughter and obstruction of justice. Judge Kohler and Pastor Dare were charged with accessory to murder after the fact, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy. The sentences were harsh. Yatu received 40 years. His father and brother each received 15 years. All three were stripped of their honors, their positions, their power. In prison, they became just numbers, just names, just 3 more men who had thought they were above the consequences of their actions. Leah John was buried properly in a ceremony attended by hundreds of strangers who had never known her but mourned her anyway. She was buried in a blue dress, like the one she had died in, with her student ID and a new bracelet that her mother placed on her wrist. The inscription read, "To my daughter, who was my light. May you finally rest." Detective Amina Cole stood at the back of the funeral, watching the mother's grief finally transform into something like peace. This was why she did this work. Not for glory or recognition, but for moments like this, when the truth, however painful, finally set the dead free. The earth remembers everything. This is what the old people say. And on that hot Tuesday morning, when the excavator's claw broke through the soil, the earth decided it had kept Leah's secret long enough. The body was found. The truth was told. And justice, though delayed by 20 years, finally arrived wearing the face it should have worn all along. Cold. Final. Inescapable. The end of this story is just the beginning of healing for those left behind.